In this lesson, we'll talk about some example sets, and you'll be presented with the start file for your final environment modeling project. Alright, so just kind of taking a look at the scene that we've been working on in the past couple of lessons. We're going to use this again as our example to kind of get you started on your final project. So at this point, you have learned lots and lots of techniques for modeling objects inside of 3ds Max. We talked about lots of techniques to use, and you should be able to get those into your head to where any thing that you can think of, you can get an idea of what tool to use and what technique to use to actually create that. You could go through this particular scene file and you could take a look at some of the different pieces, for example, like the picture frame. You could take a look at that and kind of say, okay, well, I think maybe he used the extrude tool to create the inset for the picture frame, and he actually used the inset tool itself. He's using Turbo Smooth to smooth it out, and so I need to make sure that I'm using those Swift loops very close to the edge to make sure that those are staying nice and tight. He's created some insets here for those grooves. And so just kind of getting those techniques and those workflows kind of round and about and trying to think of those in your mind. Some things to kind of think about with your final project. You want to try to build up from the architecture itself. So just like we started in the first portion of the final project lessons, we built up the main architecture itself. So in this particular part, we have the walls, and I've kind of skewed up this one side just to kind of create a different look to the room altogether. We have our ceiling, and we also have our floor, which was all created out of a single box, and then we separated those out. On the walls, you see that we have this trim that goes across the top, so you might have some ideas on how to create that, and also across the bottom for the trim as well. You can see that I've created just a single window, and looking at that, you can see that this has been inset to create that window seal there, and then we also have just a separate object for the window itself. As you're going through this project from here with the main architecture, you want to start building up with using props and things like that. So how are you going to build some of these chairs? You can see that this chair is very contemporary design. It's not something that I would normally see in someone's living room. However, you could really come up with any design that you want for your own project. This was just to kind of show you how you could use lofting. We learned how to do that, so I built a path for the arms themselves and then built a simple shape, which was a rectangle, to get that geometry, and then converted it over to Editable Poly and used the segments to create those grooves and just extruded those downward to kind of get those grooves, and then smoothed it out using Turbo Smooth. So very easy, although it does look complex. If you just break it down to its base shape and think about those different techniques, this stuff will come very, very easily. In your particular project, you want to think of what kind of theme you're going with. So let's go ahead and open up our final project template that you're going to be working off of. So I'm going to go open. I'm not going to save this particular one. And here you'll have your final project template. And right now, you can see that it's just a box, okay, with two walls and then a ceiling and then the floor. And we also have a shot cam set. So if you hit P on the keyboard, that will send you to your perspective view. And here we just have a camera in place. And it's just a very simple cube. And it's just to kind of force you to keep things in scope. So create maybe 3 or 4 different props and kind of build up this level or this particular scene. Maybe you want it to be like a mad scientist's laboratory or one corner of it. So maybe you have kind of a table or an island that has flasks and beakers and things like that sitting on top of it. Some equipment that we're not necessarily sure of what it is, just kind of sitting up against certain walls. Maybe you have jars and flashing lights and screens and things like that just sitting in this corner. Okay, so it's really totally up to you. Think of something, and at this point what you'd want to do is just kind of start to sketch out some ideas. So sketch out a simple corner like this, So if we go to our camera, shot cam here, just kind of sketch out a corner that looks just like this and start to think about what you could put in. So maybe a table going across, or maybe a bar for a tavern or something like that, some wine bottles, whatever, totally up to you. Thinking about maybe some lighting fixtures. Just start to sketch out some ideas and start to think about ways that you could build those up in 3D. And, if you can start to identify the techniques and the tools that would be used to create specific objects, you know that the skill builder is working for you. If there are some particular objects that aren't really making a whole lot of sense on how you would build that in 3D, you have plenty of lessons to go back to in this skill builder to kind of refresh on and to think about what techniques could be used to create that particular object. So get very comfortable with this course. You may go back through a couple of lessons several times to just kind of get that concept and to get that workflow down. And I guarantee you that if you can get each one of those workflows down, you'll be able to build just about anything inside of 3ds Max. So with that said, I'm going to leave it up to you to build your final project. Speaking of that, once you're finished with your final project, we really, really want to see what you come up with on the forum. So if you want to take a quick render of what you come up with on your final project and you post that on the forum, we try to take a look at those and give you any feedback if you request that on your image. And we kind of want to help you and want to see you grow as a modeler. And, I've had a lot of fun in this course, and I hope you guys did too. I hope you learn a lot in this course. I really look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and I'll see you guys next time.